In 1980, John Sayles, a then unknown director, cast David Strathairn, a then unknown actor, in his first film role in The Return of the Secaucus 7. Since then, the two have collaborated on 6 other films. Their latest is Limbo, and here's a trailer from the film.
Hold her anymore.
You don't think we're gonna get rescued, do you?
Papa calls it limbo because it sure isn't heaven, and it's too cold to be hell.
You can't always save people.
They join me now to talk about this film and their long-time collaboration. I'm pleased to have them both back on this program. Welcome back, David.
Thank you.
John, good to see you.
Thanks,
How long have you two known each other since Secaucus 7?
Since probably about 1973, really.
Yeah.
David and I went to the same college, but we never knew each other there. But we were in the same summer stock theater company about a year or two later.
Now, were you directing or acting then?
I was both, directing and acting. I played a lot of large, semi-retarded people. I was in Of Mice and Men and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and I did some directing as well.
And what, David was a leading man? And
David did a lot of character stuff and some leading men stuff. I remember him with tobacco juice dribbling down his face in Of Mice and Men. But,
the one retard that he didn't do.
Yeah.
They got the one he didn't get.
Yeah.
The first collaboration was Secaucus?
Secaucus 7,
Yeah. And how many times since then have you worked?
Well, there's 7 movies altogether.
7?
Yeah, out of the 12 that I've directed, yeah.
So your first call when you decide to make a movie is to him?
Yeah, well, I always kind of think, is there something David would do something interesting with? Because he's played very, very different parts in all of them. You know, it's not like an alter ego or an iconic thing. You know, it's just kind of, you know, well, who would take this somewhere interesting?
And you always seem to say yes.
Well, yeah, rarely do you get the opportunities even on your own to do that stuff, and just sort of have, you know, the phone ring and say, well, here's another piece of the prism that you want to do. Yeah, it's...
And does he send a script, or does he just call up and say, look, do you want to play this character, and this is who he is?
Well, the ideas sort of come floating around, and then the script may arrive, and then we read it, what do you think, and then... you know, I'm always, you know, just right there on the edge to say yes, you know, and then sort of the ball rolls with we start talking about the characters.
My impression is that you're at a point now where you get a lot of offers.
Not really. From John, I've got more offers from John than I have
any other director. Okay, but that's 7 movies.
Yes.
But I mean, aren't you working? You got a lot of work, don't you?
Between the theater and the film, yeah, I keep myself pretty busy. But
you can work all year round if you'd like.
I imagine, but not a lot of independent films. I've sort of maybe been pigeonholed into doing peripheral independent stuff, which is great because it's very vital, and it's you know, I feel it's important to the people making it, and that kind of the energy of that is very attractive. But no, offers aren't coming in as some people would think.
We try to give David a lot of warning. So if we have something for him to do and we know the kind of part of the year we're going to do it, we try to say, Dave, you know, try not to book yourself into a play during these 5 weeks or whatever.
This took how many, 11 years in the making?
Well, 11 years in the thinking. I had traveled in Alaska 11 years ago, and it was very, very struck by the place, just how close nature is to civilization there, and how big nature is and how small civilization is. And then about 7 years ago, one of the guys who's worked with us a bunch of times as a grip, who also acts in the film, who had been a commercial fisherman in Alaska, told me this story of people who caught so many fish that their boat sank. And the hubris of that, you know, kind of seemed like the core of a character. And for a while I was thinking of, you know, maybe adapting a Conrad novel into something that could be set contemporary in Alaska, with David being the Conrad guy. And then I just invented this story.
Yeah. Tell me the story.
Well, Limbo is about a commercial fisherman, former commercial fisherman that David plays, Joe Gastineau, who 25 years ago had a very bright future ahead of him and had this terrible accident where 2 of his friends drowned on his boat. And he basically has not taken a risk again for 25 years. He's been treading water in circles. Not an emotional risk, not a physical risk. And he meets a woman who's come up there to do a tour singing, played by Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, who has the exact opposite reaction to risk and failure, which is she's one of those people who, as many times as she's been kind of smacked down, she comes back for more.
Right. All right. Roll tape. This is a clip from the film in which David's character takes Donna, the character, to watch the salmon die in a spawning pool. Here it is.
Just wear out and give up.
I'd make it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I sweat. I do this much at the gym every day.
While we were watching that, David, you were making a point about the beauty or the power of the fish jumping.
Yeah, it's astounding. You can see it in magazines, you know, photos, or you can see it in a nature program. But when you're there, it's hypnotic. You just don't. I had never experienced a force of nature, much like Alaska. I mean, you're in this backdrop of wilderness is quite daunting and exhilarating, and also puts you in the perspective with nature where man really is. You know.
Is this scripted heavily, or is it just simply sort of has a script, but you can play off of it because?
You know, I generally
You're the director and the writer.
I change probably about 2 lines per script, so everything is scripted. We work on relatively low budgets with very little time, and so you can't just shoot a lot of stuff experimentally and carve that down into a little 2-hour movie. What I do depend on is collaboration. So even though the lines may not change, I really need the actors to do a lot of the research themselves, a lot of the inhabiting of the characters themselves. I need them to come to me with their take on things and have many of them. So a lot of what I ask from an actor is, okay, we tried it that way, try it this way. Try it this way, try it this way.
Or do you ask the actor, how would you like to try it yourself?
Oh, absolutely. I always say, if there's something we haven't done and I'm about to move the camera and you have some idea that you haven't gotten to express yet, you've got to let me know, because I have to see that. Because sometimes that's going to be the thing that in the editing room, because I edit them as well, I'm going to like the most.
What percentage of directors give you that opportunity?
That's sort of always in the works, but with John's, I mean, from the get-go, because the narrative is so strong and the characters are already inhabited, right. It's almost a seamless thing to go from the research you do by getting in the environment of Alaska or wherever, like in Louisiana, or passionate for something, to go right to the script, because it's very seamless. My work is almost done by by the words, by the script. And
meaning what? That
well, I have to, the accoutrements of the character, right, and the tools, right, or whatever comes with the guy's specific discipline. That I have to familiarize myself with. But the psychology of the character, if I come up with an impulse or an idea about it, it's reflected on the script. So it's already there. Is what I'm saying. There's nothing arbitrary about these people. And if you make a psychological choice about this person's journey, if the choice is usually reflected from what I've already sensed from the material.
Knowing the script.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of working with the writer and the director in one person.
One person, yeah. That's right. He gets no quarrel from the script writer or vice versa.
Right.
Yeah, and we get a lot of help from the people who do the things or live in the place that we're shooting. So I'll put David together with some commercial fishermen or a mud boat skipper down in Louisiana.
Expecting what to happen?
Well,
that he's going to...
Those people are going to have skills, they're going to have a way of looking at the world, they're going to have a rhythm to them that really helps, I think, an actor understand who this guy is physically. So the inner life may be in the script, but what is the rhythm that these people speak in? What is, for instance, Alaskans are incredible individualists, but there's also this unwritten code of you help other people out.
Okay, before I see the next clip, run the story forward so that we get the three of them on the island.
Yeah, there's a triangle that develops in that the singer that Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio plays has a very troubled teenage daughter, played by Vanessa Martinez.
And a troubled relationship.
Yeah, who is having her first adult crush, and of course it has to be on this guy who works with her, who turns out to be her mother's new, hopefully, boyfriend. So there's a triangle. They go out on what they think is just almost a touristic trip to help out David's half-brother, and David's half-brother is in big trouble with dangerous people, and all of a sudden they have to jump into cold water, swim to shore in the back of beyond, in an almost uncharted island in the wilderness of Alaska, and now they're in this situation where they're totally lost. It's going to be hard to survive. Winter is coming, and if they make a signal fire, it's almost as likely to attract the bad guys as the good guys.
Sure. And what you've got there is a conflict between the three of them, in a sense, between optimism and pessimism, and half full, half empty,
Yeah,
and all
and
that.
a very, very, very volatile triangle.
Exactly. Roll tape. Here it is.
It's a possibility.
Jeez, you two are a perfect match. Doom and gloom.
There's no use pretending.
Yes, there is.
Now, here's what's interesting. You do not, in the end, know what happens to them. Fair to say?
Yeah,
you know what happens to the
family.
The family.
Yeah.
Now, and that's because I want things neatly packaged, and you want me to wake up to reality, and that's not the way life works, correct?
Well, that's the beauty of the script. It's a reflection. It's not really an answer.
Yeah.
And it is called Limbo.
It is called Limbo. I know.
There's
Because
Limbo, to me, in this movie, represents those situations that people get into where they're not drowning, but they're not going anywhere. You have a job you hate, you're in a bad relationship, whatever.
the only way 99% of the population.
Yeah, the only way out of those is risk. And risk is very scary because risk means you don't know how it's going to turn out.
All right, now let me ask you something, again, to show how naive I am. See, and this whole idea is interesting to me. But does the dialogue deal with that directly, or is it more interpretive?
I think that if you're paying attention to the dialogue, it accumulates. Nobody says the word.
I thought the word you just said was very interesting. Why couldn't we have somebody speak that word?
There is somebody who says it. There's a developer at the beginning who says, what do you get when you get on a roller coaster?
Yeah.
Not real risk, because only marginal consumers want that, but the illusion of risk.
Right.
Most movies deliver the illusion of risk. We're going to take a lot of twists and turns, but at the end, we know it's Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan.
Right.
Or it's Harrison Ford. They're not going to kill him off. Come on.
Right.
Limbo is asking more from an audience, which is, we want you to take real risk with these characters.
Meaning, what do you want the audience to do? Take risk
you're
do
going
what? To invest in them, to like them, to care about what happens to them, and
not know that it's going to turn out okay.
Yeah.
And that's very unusual.
Well, from my perceiving of it, it makes total sense. It's like a poem. The poem, how a poem means is as much as what it says on the words. The dialogue may not indicate limbo, but the piece itself is starts from the get-go to the end, and the integrity of it, I think, is clear. It's just that we may not have the discipline to look at a work of art like a film in the same way we would look at something we expect to be ambiguous, like a poem or something like that, poetry. And so that's what I think the challenge and the risk of this project is.
And it's not an action-adventure film.
Yeah.
There's about 2 minutes of action-adventure in it that get you.
But it's a lot of drama there.
There
There is
drama,
Yeah.
definitely. Definitely.
You know, and conflict.
Right. But it is not from the get-go one of those great machines. I mean, a good action movie is like a great ride on a roller coaster.
Okay,
And I've written them for other people.
I know. Why won't you write one for yourself?
You know, it's about interest.
I don't want you to compromise your principles, John, but
yeah, it's about interest, and a year of your life is going to go into making a film, and finally, I'm interested in other things besides the machinery, which is human beings, and one of the things that I know from writing more machine-like movies for other people is that if you make the people 2-3-dimensional, it can get in the way of the ride, and so sometimes you actually
make them
squeeze them a little bit down to 2-dimensionals or 1-dimensional.
Yeah. You know what I want to see you do is to make a political film. I mean, you'll tell me all your films are political, but to make a political film that...
Or a movie about politics.
A movie about politics, yeah. Right.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting. One of the problems now is that most political films are satires, and it's so hard to satirize what's actually going on.
You mean like Wag the Dog and all that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how could they compete with real events?
I mean, David wrote a pretty good script there, didn't he? David Mamet.
No, absolutely.
Did you like that movie?
Yeah, it was
The script
pretty
was
deft.
good.
Yeah,
Pretty deft, exactly. And they, you know what, they didn't think it was going to do very well because they thought it was too political. You know, they thought they didn't think an audience wanted to buy into politics.
Right. Or are they in the market for making fun of what they want to believe in?
Yeah.
You know, that's a really dicey little situation when you're making the responsibility of making a political film. If it's, are we sending our own beliefs up? So then how can you have anything to believe in if you're sort of cutting it off at the legs and laughing at it? That's tricky stuff. I mean, that's great satire can do that. But I don't know. It seems almost too... You can't make a cartoon about something that you want to hold up as an ideal. It's really hard.
Do you, in the end, therefore, because you can do more of what you would like to see done in film on theater, prefer theater?
Well, John's films feel like plays to me because you can invest in it in a way that it feels familial. And I just recently did a production of a playwright who's working very hard to get his stuff done, and he has seemingly very familiar situations with a poetic overlay of language. This was at the People's Light and Theater in Malvern, Pennsylvania. And the investment with theater is cathartic. You get to do it, the whole thing, each night, and reinvestigate it each night as a whole. With film, you're doing a piece and a piece and a piece like that. John's films feel familial. The community is brought into it. And so that you, in a way, are investigating kind of a gestalt as opposed to doing a little piece here and there. But for right now, I feel viscerally, theater is really satisfying, much more satisfying than film work.
In theater, the actor has the ball. The actor goes out there, the director has come and gone sometimes. Maybe they're in the audience sweating, please do it the way that you did it in rehearsal. But you go out there and it's your audience and your night, and you can change your performance each night. One of the things that I try to do, working with good actors, is give them the ball a little bit more often. Vanessa Martinez in this movie, as I was writing it, and I had worked with Vanessa one time before, I had these long speeches. She's reading this diary. Right. And starting to kind of free associate with
really
it.
Reading it.
Yeah. I realized, well, what are we going to look at? And I said, well, if I get Vanessa Martinez, we can look at her. She's that good. Oh. Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio's first scene in this movie, you know, it's cut up into a lot of pieces now, but basically what I had her do, because she's so good, is she's on stage, she's singing one song, she finishes, it's a little ragged, she starts talking to the audience at this wedding, she introduces the next song and says, and by the way, I'm breaking up with my boyfriend, I'm not going to play with him anymore, and then she sings this very dagger-in-the-heart song to him about breaking up. She walks off the stage kind of shaky, sees David's character loading a truck and says, hey, can you give me a ride into town? I just broke up with my boyfriend. I shot that in one piece. And that was Mary Elizabeth's first day on the set, and that was her first thing. And it was about 7 minutes, including a 3.5-minute song. She's good enough.
One piece, meaning the camera didn't stop.
The camera didn't stop. I didn't cut it into pieces until later. So she had the ball. And she got to play the arc of that, of how am I going to do this, break up with this guy, I've had it, this is the moment, I'm going to do one more song and I'm out of here, can I even get through this song, I see my daughter in the audience, I see this guy glaring at me, how do I get out of here, I finish the song, thank you, get off, here's a guy with a truck, look, I got to get out of here, can you, you know, all that stuff builds on itself, and instead of chopping into little pieces that I knew eventually it would become because there's other subplots going on, I wanted to give Mary Elizabeth the ball and let her play that whole arc. And I think the more you can do that in film, the more organic it feels for actors, especially good actors who have done theater, who can handle pages of dialogue instead of just little 30-second snippets.
Let me take one last clip here. This is when Chris Christopherson, who plays Smiling Jack, lands on the island and everyone thinks at that moment that they might be saved. Here it is.
I'm not sure who did it. We jumped off at night. A couple of fellows came in looking, and we hid. And then they pulled anchor.
Damn. How long you been here?
Boy, you have an ensemble here, don't you?
Yeah.
As
Some
always.
very good actors. Yeah, I've been very lucky. I've gotten to work with terrific actors.
What's next?
Next, I don't know what movie is next. I continue to write movies for other people to make a living.
Like what?
Oh, I did a movie for James Cameron about a year ago based on a science fiction novel called Brother Termite.
Which James Cameron of Titanic.
Yeah,
right?
which is one of the many projects he may do next or eventually. I've gotten to work with really interesting... I was one of the screenwriters on Mimic, the giant cockroach movie. Yeah. I'm working on an animated feature right now that's set in ancient Africa as a rewrite. I do a lot of rewriting, but sometimes they'll just give me an idea. And I'm working on a short story collection, which will probably be the next thing that comes out. And I've got about half of those short stories written because it pays so well, writing short stories.
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah, you, the idea for you, when you take these actors who are very good, you know, your script, which you have to shoot tight, then is editing like easy for you once you get in?
Editing is fun, yeah. Especially with good actors, you're not salvaging a performance.
Right.
You're giving it a certain rhythm, and then you're able to kind of pick and choose between takes. So with Mary Elizabeth, she sings a song and breaks up with her boyfriend. She's singing, we recorded it live there. She wasn't lip syncing or anything like that. One take I might say, okay, play the anger this time. Same song, but with anger underneath. Play the hurt this time. Okay, play more.
Because you don't know which way you want to take it.
So I can, when I edit it, I can mix and match the best moments of these guys.
Judi Dench was here the other night. Have you seen Amy's View?
No, not yet.
She's fabulous, and she's fabulous, period. I mean, she's just a great actress. And she was saying, you know, and she's had this wonderful sort of year, both, you know, from Shakespeare in Love and the Tony from Amy's View and Mrs. Brown, a lot of great stuff. It's been a great year for her. But she was saying in Tea with Mussolini, she invested a lot in this character as an actor. And it was cut. This was Franco Zeffirelli. And therefore, you know, it wasn't so much she wanted a lot of airtime, but she wanted people to see the character.
Right.
And it kind of got lost. Did that ever happen for you where you have, in a sense, thought you had taken this character somewhere because of the way it was edited?
Yeah, and then he no longer exists.
You no longer exist.
That happened once, yeah. But I understood why they had to get rid of it.
No problem for you.
Well, the investment is your investment, but it's sort of as film is, it's in the moment. Or as is theater, you make your investment in the moment, and that's the mystery of it. It's gone, just so that it doesn't exist in the editing. It's also gone. You know, you sort of have to give over, unless you think you have such an investment in the character and the project and the life of the piece. Then you say, well, maybe the choice there wasn't right, but it's always in the director's hands, really.
You want to direct?
I have enough time directing myself, you know.
What's that? What are you doing next?
I'm doing a workshop of a play at the New York Stage and Film Summer Home at Vassar College, the Powerhouse Theater.
How many Tom Stoppard plays?
Did I say a workshop of a film?
Workshop
of a play.
Of a play.
How many Tom Stoppard plays have you been in?
Just one.
Just one.
Hapgood, yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Boy, he's good, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Dave's been in more Pinter than
Oh, have you really been in more Pinter?
Yeah.
How many Pinters?
The Birthday Party 3 times, and Ashes to Ashes recently. Yeah. And actually, I designed The Homecoming once, but I didn't know what I was doing.
Another life.
Yeah.
This movie's called Limbo. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie.
John, thank you both. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.